Assalamu alaikum. I'm Rowdha Sayegh, and I'm honored to be moderating this session of Ramadan Pioneer Series, which is an initiative of the Dubai Future Academy, the capacity building arm of Dubai Future Foundation, where we aim to be the leading city of the future. This year, we managed to address the pressing challenges that we're facing due to the pandemic with the belief that opportunities can be created through great talks. During this session, we will have the best panel that will show us and address this from an art's perspective. Today, we are pausing at art with a strong belief in its power. As an artist myself, I gladly present our panelists that will guide us through the power that lie within building societies through art. From a government perspective, I'm honored to welcome Ayesha bin Kalli, a marketing manager in Brand Dubai, the creative arm of the government of Dubai Media Office. Welcome, Ayesha. I'm also honored to be lucky to get an insight from an art curator with a mission to create art that is meaningful, accessible, and affordable. Saliba, a creative art director, curator, and artist, who is also the founder of Art Painting Lab. Hope you are all well, ladies. How are things with you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for asking. It's been different than usual, but we see a lot of different creative input every day.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm good too. Thank you for asking. Thank you for organizing this to Dubai Future Academy. It's really great to have an opportunity to talk and to just kind of let it out. We've been needing that, you know, just speaking about the things that we love speaking to you about. It's been good. It's been a ride, I think, for all of us. We've all been going through this whole thing and sharing experiences and experiencing things totally different, every single one of us, isn't it?
True. I cannot agree more. Perfect. So, Ayesha, I believe that you worked on many projects previously and managed a lot, such as Dubai Canvas, that we all witnessed the success of. Mashallah, it was amazing. And we're so proud of you. Now, my question for you is, as a manager, your role requires being around your team and artists a lot. From distance, how are you managing things nowadays?
Honestly, with this pandemic, it changed the structure of how we usually work. So now we've been working in a more flexible manner. We've been adapting as a creative entity. We've been adapting our ways to support the creatives. So we don't only support artists, we do that heavily though, but we also support designers, we support creatives like photographers and all that. So what we do is we depend a lot on social media, and we depend a lot on taking our conversations, whether through email or even WhatsApp. We always try to find and collaborate with artists, finding them on social media, and then the final project, you would see it distributed heavily on WhatsApp. You would see it distributed heavily on using different online bloggers, creative bloggers, and influencers that would take our message forward. Something we did majorly that changed the way we usually work is how we saw this pandemic affecting everyone, and we wanted that aspect, which is art, obviously, for it to bring people together. So we worked on a big outdoor campaign with the artist Method Methan. And I'm very, it's a pleasure for me to have worked with her. She's very inspiring. What happened is that we actually planned our big project around her art. She started with submitting one art piece that was only meant to be for social media. What happened is that art piece was so strong and powerful that many people asked for it to go bigger. So we commissioned her for other artworks as well as a series that I'll actually share now with you.
I truly believe that maybe so many people saw those artworks already. It's truly inspiring. And I can't wait for the rest of the people to see it.
Yeah. Honestly, her art is really inspiring, and we did a series of artworks. Um, Here you can see the project. It's more of there were three series, and you would see them actually here. So the Maythan wanted to highlight the dangers of this pandemic on the different age groups that this virus is hitting. So she did the series of a grandson and the grandparents. It was very touching to see how people can come together during this time, and how this is very touching for everyone living in Dubai, seeing we don't have that many old people around us, and these people mean so much to us, so many memories and so much love for them. So this campaign came in coincidence with the lockdown. It was encouraging people to stay home more.
Perfect. We also have someone from the audience saying that they saw it on Sheikh Zayed Road and they believe that it's so powerful and impactful, which is a great review we're seeing here as well.
Yeah, actually this campaign went all around Dubai. It started from Marina until Business Bay and Garhoud. It went on lampposts, billboards, and all that. I think it was worth the exposure it got. It got international exposure and a lot of regional. We saw that this is one of the examples where we say art brings people together.
That's right, and just to add to that, Ayesha, it's been a wonderful project. We've all been celebrating it, I think, around the UAE. And from an artist perspective, I'd like to highlight also how we felt, why it was so powerful, what your initiative did, is because it touched on the experience, the inner world that we are all facing, right, and are not essentially talking about. And it's artwork like that builds societies on a socio-emotional plane. Because building societies is not only infrastructure, right? We are a homogeneous society, heterogeneous society from all over the world, and we're all having our own experiences and different experiences. And living here as an international society, we're also obviously very sympathetic to the Emirati population and what they're going through at this very present, and highlighting that, and highlighting how tender the situation is even for the Emirati population, creates a lot of compassion and empathy among the society, and it creates growth therefore. So from an artistic perspective, that artwork and that size of display, etc., that you guys did created a lot of mileage, I feel, emotionally.
True. I cannot agree more with you, Sam. Honestly, like, I've been a big fan of Maytha's work previously, and seeing this and seeing the exposure she got, she truly deserved it. She proved that art does not have to come in a big series to have a huge impact. With 3 artworks, she was able to create the biggest impact possible, which we truly appreciate. And I believe that she showed us one thing. She truly showed us how an artist can think out of the box with the limited source she had and with the limited resources we have nowadays as artists. And she came up with an amazing view. So a great example is her, and I believe another great example of how much art can be doing nowadays is the initiative that is launched by Art Painting Lab, which is called United Art Emirates, that allows the public to help and make an impact from home. Sam, can you tell us what sparked the light, and do you see the light spreading?
Yes, so generally it is a very exciting project, we feel, at this moment. It's not far from what we normally do, which is to bring art to the public, to make sure that people living in our societies are surrounded by art in hotels and restaurants and public spheres and so forth. So this is something that we've always worked toward. But we believe that during a crisis as such, people rise in different capacities, right? We have doctors, nurses, sanitary people, restaurants, food supply chains, etc. Everybody's rising in the way they can. They're rising for their society. And so our role as artists is also to rise for our society. And it is kind of like a civic duty that every artist essentially could incorporate to rise during this type of pandemic times for their society and create platforms for society to express themselves, right? And that's what the United Art Emirates initiative does. United Art Emirates, UAE, right? It's a little play on word, does. And it's meant to create unity, and it's meant to inspire, and it's meant to create commonness and oneness and togetherness. And what it's asking for is that the population, the UAE residents, get to send in an artwork, whichever artwork. It is really it's not a judgment-loaded request. They can draw in any capacity that they have and share that artwork. And we will essentially incorporate this artwork in a very well curated mural masterpiece. And the beauty about this is that it is public art. Mm-hmm. Public art is something very special because, you know, a lot of people say, well, what is public art, right? Public art is very special because it interacts with people. It ideally should interact with people in some ways, either ask for their participation or stand there incorporating their participation, right? So this artwork is an initiation that will be very, very public, but not only public on a small scale, but public in an international scale, because here we have an international community from all over the world, quite representative of the world, coming together to create something. And when all this is over, we're going to remember that we came together for something, that we came together in the spirit of creativity, and creativity is what really makes the world go round. Everything we do is creative. Every solution we forge is creative. Every solution we will forge now after COVID is a creative solution, be it technologically creative or in any way else creative. But to come together in the creative spirit, I think that is the dot on the I, and this is why I believe this initiative is so important. I can actually show a video about it. Yeah, yeah, we can do that. Here, I pulled it up from what's on. Let me just share my screen with you guys. This will basically tell you a little more in general about what it is.
With the world being stilled and daily life put off, there is a strong sense of community, a oneness and a longing. And in the absence of the normal, people began to innovate, to clap together and cheer for happiness and support one another with humor and encouragement. Unlikely heroes were discovered, and the likely ones forever celebrated. We share a willingness to stay home for each other, and sometimes, in those difficult pauses, beautiful, creative ideas emerge. And today, you are the artist. Because you're born to create. So UAE, let us come together and create. We invite you to send your artworks, your doodles, sketches, calligraphies, and poetries. We will merge them all together in an effort to create a monumental mural masterpiece that will tell our story of how an international community has come together to create something inspiring in uncertain times. Let's create together, and together we are the United Art Emirates.
There we go.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think on behalf of the audience, I can truly say, wow. Honestly, it's such a great initiative. Sam, I like how you pointed out on the importance of art. And I personally truly believe that at times of weakness, such as now, it's important to use art as a shield that keeps people strong. And it gives me great honor to realize that With all the hard times that are going on, it eases my heart that the pandemic did not win over art. Art is actually supporting and making the pandemic a better place.
Absolutely, absolutely. And people have been signaling this on all streaming platforms, that art and the role of creative output is the one thing that we all really share in common, right? Whether it is a yearning for natural beauty and nature and being unrestrained outside, or whether it is a refuge, diving into creativity to create something that will ease our boredom and our maybe, you know, our bad times that we're experiencing and our fears. These are all ingredients at the end of the day to create monumental artworks. And this is an opportunity. I think people have an opportunity, and we're not the only ones to create an initiative. There are amazing entities, from Jameel Art Center to Dubai Culture, here with us, Ayesha, Dubai Brand. We have individual art galleries creating initiative. We have Ras Al Khaimah Art Festival that is still ongoing. We are definitely not there. There are so many entities who are realizing that art is that way to build a strong socio-emotional society that will take us to the next step. We have a role to play, and I think that's what we're seeing, what we're celebrating.
Exactly. That's the most beautiful way anyone can have put it. Sam, thank you for sharing. See, we see the positivity of it. We see how art is helping, but for sure, the art industry itself must have been affected. Where do you see those effects?
Look, we are directly on the front line, right? We are serving the commercial sectors. We are serving our public realm. We are serving hotels. We're serving restaurants. So from a commercial point of view, art is definitely affected. Projects have been halted. We are not the only ones. We speak to a lot of artists. We're art consultants, right? So we speak to a lot of artists and see how they're doing. And their projects have to some extent stopped. It's stopped. It's from literally going from a high to a full stop. But of course, we in the art sector are not the only ones experiencing this. The entire industry is, right? So now it's time to innovate. It is time to recreate oneself, and that's what I believe is what it is. We accept that we are in this situation, but it is time to rise and to innovate and not give up. You know, it's very important also for artists to think that way.
Yeah, I agree. Also, to add to your points, that we were mentioning that earlier with the team, that businesses that were able to adapt to digital platforms did kind of survive this. So artists that didn't have challenges producing their art, or artists that, say, for example, that had a strong social media presence, got more opportunities with this pandemic. As if you see artists that don't have the social media presence, or people that, say, for example, that need actual workshops or a big space to produce their works, or they need to be part of an event, a physical event, these artists got very affected. Us as Brand Dubai, we try to support everyone when it comes to highlighting them, giving them our platform to post about their work. If their work needed to be in a workshop format where they need to teach someone about something, we also give them that. And honestly, it's an exchange of we also need the artists. We also, as Brand Dubai, it's not just that the artists need us to rise. We, us as a government entity, we learn so much from these artists. They bring us a crowd where, at the same time, because we're in a pandemic, we want to raise awareness on certain topics. They help us raise awareness creatively on how to be protective, how to stay safe. That's where you'll also see internationally, not only locally, obviously, that there are a few factors in common when it comes to any creative's work. And I'm not generalizing, I'm saying there is just many of that. Is you see in the works, you see a lot of masks, you see a lot of the corona icon, you see doctors. That just highlights how important that is. We see it as a very positive thing that the whole world portrays the pandemic in a certain style. So I think that saying that, I personally feel that artists are being supported a lot in Dubai and in the UAE, and we as Brand Dubai and so many cultural entities are trying our best to even support them more. Every day we try to meet and plan different ways to see where we can pick up the people that have been affected majorly around the world, because galleries have been closed and so many artists have been hit hard. It shows that there is more than 80% loss for these artists, people that lost jobs. So that's really sad to hear. We don't want that to happen here. We saw so many creative entities like at Sarkal Avenue picking up their spaces, their galleries, and putting them on digital platforms. That they gained so many viewers from that. Art Dubai, I've done some research and I saw that they got 50,000 views on their website on the digital programming they did, which is a big deal. So I would advise all artists that can be part of a bigger entity to join people like us, Brand Dubai or Art Dubai or any of that, and to take their art to the next level. Yeah.
Ayesha, sorry, Sam, please go forward.
Go ahead.
Please, the mic is yours.
And also, I think that to add to what Ayesha said, is we have an opportunity as artists to again think out of another box, which is the box of being an artist, right? When disasters and pandemics strike, one wants to come up with ideas on how to serve society beyond just simply creating visuals that are expressing, let's say, ideas or emotions and so forth. You want to use your creativity to create solutions, right? I gave you earlier an example where I spoke about, for example, you can help schools. How? By finding solutions for preschoolers. You can create little boxes with all kinds of creative tools and toys where preschoolers can engage with them, and it'll be fun. You can start such type of small businesses, right? As an artist, having that creative capacity can be turned around to many, many things. For example, one of the ways, one of the things that I believe in is that art can be interactive to the point that people can climb on it, they can use it as obstacles, they can interact with it in a physical way, which could tie into exercise, right? So there's creative solutions that can be made for society that can tick all kinds of boxes, unexpected boxes, and artists are here to do that.
True. Really true. You know, I want to point out on one thing you both discussed is the opportunities that came up and how things can be shifted digitally when things closed. And I had a personal experience with that. I was one of the artists participating in Sika Art this year. And I got the news like a week before the gallery that we'll have to shut it down. And the artist part of me was really looking forward to it. And I was feeling really down that it got shut down. But not much later, an initiative that you spoke about, Sam, which is Let's Create by Dubai Culture, rose up, and they contacted me to be part of the campaign. So it made me realize that when one door closes, another door can open. And Ayesha pointed on a very important note of making your social media platform stronger is really important, since the future is heading towards that direction. I was one of the artists that is guilty of being lazy on social media. And I do believe that this quarantine gave me the time to be more active on social media, and that did make opportunities rise for me. So thank you, Ayesha, for sharing this point, and thank you, Sam, for pointing out on it. So we'd like to tell the public, if you're an artist, if you're passionate, make sure that you post what you do, be active, reach out to entities. We always think if we send a direct message, we might never get a reply back, but just imagine how beautiful it would be when you get that reply back, when you have your artwork such as Meitha bint Meithan on a billboard in Sheikh Zayed Road. So be active and just put it out there, and it is going to reach somewhere one day. So this is one of the opportunities that rose with the challenges that are facing. Is there any other opportunity that you believe came out of such an experience?
I think based on previous times where different crises hit in general, we've seen a lot of different art movements, and some people would say better art. So I feel that this time around would result in that kind of art. I've seen already some great examples of that. And I've seen, for example, an online museum that just opened now, and it's called COVID Art Museum. It's on Instagram, and their art is really great. They support artists from all over the world, artists that have this topic in mind and seeing what they portray this pandemic with. So I feel that something great for the artists is coming from this crisis.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's opportunities as well on many levels, where there is a possibility that through this crisis, a lot of people discover that they didn't like what they were doing before, and now they would like to get more creatively engaged. So there's a possibility that we have a lot of artists out there discovering that just as we speak, right? Where they will become active participants in translating their experiences and other people's experiences through art toward the public. We can have definitely also a lot more public art, where the opportunity, because you don't necessarily have to touch public art, right? You can engage with it at a distance. You can engage with it in parks. For example, they have art parks in other countries, right? Where the parks are basically designed so that people can take pictures in front of massive structures and things like that. So maybe that is something that could move into our GCC eventually, because public art, maybe it is changing neighborhoods, revamping neighborhoods and making them more artistic. There's that possibility as well, because people can see art outside their windows. There's opportunities we have been contacted by an incredible projection company that has been saying, well, can we go and project your artworks onto buildings? Can we project your artworks onto hospital buildings? Can we project your artworks onto neighborhoods, so that neighborhoods can see it and be reminded that there's just so much more out there? So definitely there's a lot of opportunity at parallel to losses, right? Definitely, we just have to see it.
Sam, hearing you say this, like with every answer, you're giving us more initiatives you're working on. And I personally know at the same time you're a mother. Can you tell us what's your secret? How do you find time to manage all of this great work?
I think time management in part. And I think it's also just simply accepting your limitations. I know that if I'm giving a certain amount of time and effort to something, I'm taking it away from somewhere else. And so I'm just going to have to try to make up for it and just keep the balance ultimately, find solutions, find working hours that are working, things like that. Well, it's important. We're doing this for our children, right? So many of us are mothers, many of us are parents, many of us are initiated people in society. We're doing this. Everything that we're doing essentially maybe now is more about all of us than just about the work, right?
And do you believe it's important? Like, do you see your time work when you're managing your time? Are you taking proper breaks? How would you put that in words?
I don't know. I think I'm still learning, you know. Nobody's ever given me a work at home 101. I recently realized that no one ever taught us about remote work satisfaction.
True.
Nobody ever taught us this. So, you know, we're all battling. Are we happy? Are we not happy? Is this working? Is this not working? I think we have these dual personalities as we're entering this shift. All of us, right? I think we can all agree to it.
True. Same here. You know, like when you're not changing the environment around you, you might get so caught up in work that the sun starts setting and you don't realize that you've spent more than the hours you usually use in the office at home. So I truly believe that in a short time, so much have changed. And the challenge is beyond our comfort zone, although homes were supposed to be considered our comfort zones. So hopefully soon, when all of this is over, what lessons do you believe we can take away with us, Asha?
I think, honestly, the major thing I see now, I always worked in art and Brand Dubai is a creative entity, always worked with the artists, I mean. This is the first time I saw how art is so important to most people. And it is really something that's bringing people together. I feel after this crisis, people, the general public, will pay more attention to art, will appreciate it more, and will have maybe more time to explore it. So that's one thing. And then for organizations, I'm talking about even non-creative organizations. I see them here supporting different creative projects. So that's something different and like a step ahead. And I've seen that so many people took their businesses, small businesses, to something more digitized, or they did adapt it to whatever is going on now. So it just shows you that you can, not all the time, but sometimes you can adapt to change. That's also related to working from home. We've seen that, especially us as our department, we would always be working till night and all that in the office. But we do that at home, and it's been more efficient and we've been more productive at home. So that's nice to see that you can meet everyone, you can find new talents, you can think of new projects, and still do it from home. So
That's a very interesting finding, to be very honest. True, the amount of work we're having done without needing to move, like, it raises the question of, is office really that important? Or is it just what we've been used to? Should we really think of reconsidering how things work? And all those questions would be very important for us for the future, not to think that we need 101 lessons that we never got. So if we thought of this previously, I believe people would have been more prepared to work from home, but that's something no one thought would happen. And you can see this all around the world, not only here. So I'm glad that we are taking it in a very productive way, and things are not stopping. Things are stopping and other opportunities are rising. So we should be very proud of the way we're responding to it. And every single person that says he or she is being more productive, you should pat yourself on the shoulder and give yourself a thumbs up. What do you think, Sam? Are there any other lessons you want to take away with you, given the crisis that happened?
I think the major lesson is to act timely. That's very important. Things have a cutoff time, right? So if you're launching an initiative, you want to launch it at the right time. If you want to launch a support program, you want to launch it at the right time, because the wrong time will be too late. So artists need support now, I think, in general. And I've seen a lot of support going around, from grants to literally safeguarding people's existing projects that have been canceled. We have Warehouse 421 in Abu Dhabi that has launched something like this. We have Jameel Art Center that has launched something like this. And everybody's realizing that the time to act is now, not later. And I think from these type of crises, the UAE government has been an incredible role model. You guys should be really proud of yourselves, because the way the UAE government has handled this crisis without creating panic, without creating, forcefully asking people to stay home, without, just systematically going through what is required. And I think that type of leadership shows people as well how they could manage their own leadership and lead in similar ways, to act now, to act systematically, and to structure the artistic world the way we want to structure it, because we can if we plan it well.
We're truly very thankful, the way you said, like we couldn't have done it without the proper directions that we got. Media acted so fast, campaigns were created in no time. And you and even Ayesha took part in that with the campaigns you have been creating. So we're very thankful for all those people that did not think a minute late, they were actually a minute early, and thinking how we can raise awareness around the public. And it happened in such a short time, which is truly amazing. And we're blessed to be in a country that has a government that thought in that way and acted really fast.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, it's for the benefit of every single person. And I truly believe that it's very beautiful to see how art is conveying those messages in a nice way. Like those times where the government stood with the people and gave us those messages, it's our duty as artists to take those messages and to direct them in the most beautiful way we can for the public to spread this inspiration. So this is where our role comes as well. I just want to remind the audience a second that there is a Q&A pod right below, if you see next to the participants. You can post your questions there. And at the end of the session, we will give you the opportunity to voice your questions to our panelists and to get your answers right away. Now, going back to our beautiful discussion. Yesterday, there was a post by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, a tweet that went viral. A part of it said, "Who thinks that the world after COVID-19 is the same as the world before it is mistaken." Hearing that while living through the pandemic, how do you imagine the future of art post-COVID-19? You're worried who should take the mic first, right? Should I just pick one?
I think we both have answers. So Sam, you want to go first?
I think that that people just simply post. We need to realize that people will start innovating, and they will also start innovating in our industry. The first step of the innovation was obviously to move everything online, but at the end of the day, the art business is a very old business, and it is a very old field. And some of the archaic frameworks that have existed for a very long time are now seeing the need to change. So be that going virtual, or be that to create a more interconnected process, a more transparent process. So that's what I see. I see that art, that the industry is going to take some shifts. And I also believe that because of the situation, artists will learn to manage themselves more, and they will make great use of internet platforms. And with that being said, they will be able to facilitate their own income in very good ways. I believe that public art is going to be a very strong conversation. It is going to be a very powerful narrative that is going to be reflective of society. So I think that conversations are going to arise. One of the conversations is going to be how to create more public policy and platforms so that artists can live and work in the GCC freely, because that's eventually what artists will need to do, independent of any kind of need for work. I think it has to do a lot with setups. So setups will be created that are going to support artists. I think the UAE is already very well on their track on that, and everything is not easy at the end of the day. You know, the UAE is a new country, and it is a country that doesn't have a blueprint. There isn't many countries like the UAE, flooded by the international community. You know, sometimes I give the example, it's like Atlantis rising out of the ocean and now create some laws, create some art, create some public policy, and do all of that, and do it well. And we have to applaud the UAE. They've done very, very well given the circumstances. And I think this pandemic is only another thing to jump over, and new ideas will emerge as part of the growth. The UAE had much more difficult things in the past, I think, and has overcome it.
I agree with you, Sam, of course. I think there will be this term that will be used a lot after this pandemic, which is art terms that will be the before and after. So everyone's going to refer to a specific kind of art as before and everything else is after. I think the creative industry in general needs to be supported more by more entities. And it shouldn't fall only on specific creative entities, whether I'm speaking Dubai, UAE, or internationally. I think this is the time where the creative industry can get the same support small businesses are getting. Thing is, I think artists, which is not something always easy to do, they need to be more digitally available and promote themselves well, which is not something easy to do when you don't always have a business mind. You need the support of someone to do that for you. And I think many entities do offer this kind of support. I think more partnerships and collaborations will come in the future because of what's happening now and what I mentioned previously, that more people saw the importance of art and they see how it can be adapted to not only physical spaces. And I think different businesses will start and rise in having a digital presence without a physical presence. I see some commercial exhibitions happening online only without them being physically there. That might also be cost effective. I see a new art ecosystem coming together to support artists long term. And I think in the long run, I'm optimistic about the art sector in general. I see that, I see the importance of it, how people, perceive it as important now. And art always comes out stronger after a crisis, based on history, So I believe in that this time too.
Renaissance.
Yes, exactly.
Very beautiful way of saying it. And I cannot agree more. The collaboration goes from both ways. We have artists that have the talent and the beautiful art that they create, but they need a platform. The platforms are there to support the artists, but need the artists. So I believe it's really important to find that gap where everyone can come hand in hand together and create. What would be your advice for artists that don't know how to reach out to a platform? Or maybe specifically when it comes to Brand Dubai and specifically when it comes to the projects that you're working on, how can they get in contact with you?
I think we've been depending a lot recently on our Instagram account. That's how we've been finding many of the artists we've been working with now and that we commissioned. I would say send us a direct message, email us. We're happy to support in any way possible. We always try to commission artists and creatives in general, but if that doesn't happen, there is still a definite chance that you will be mentioned in our account and put in our database for our next project. We try to work with as many people as possible, and we always try to give a chance to people we didn't work with before. So we don't always have only a certain group that we only commission. And if we don't work with you for the proposal, for example, that you will send now, we can put you in touch with someone else that can benefit from that. So we try not to stop an artist at just Brand Dubai. If it won't go anywhere, it will go somewhere else. That kind of thinking.
That's amazing. What about you, Sam, regarding Art Painting Lab? How can people get in contact?
People can always get in contact. We're very open. We're also, we have a studio that is extremely receptive to all kinds of artists. We're art consultants, so we like to use their work. So they're free to send it to us at hello@Art Painting Lab. And we love to collect this type of work and introduce artists into our projects. We also, and many people don't know this about Art Painting Lab, but we are very strong advocates of supporting Emirati artists. So for us, Emirati artists get free internships with us, free learning opportunities on skill sets and scaling murals and so forth. They can use our studio if they need a place to work, etc. We are extremely supportive of that. We can't obviously help all the artists out there, but we understand that it's very important to help the Emirati artists as much as we can. So our studio is open for them anytime to come work with us, to come work in our studio, to learn skills, even digital and technical skills and so forth. We are here to teach that and happy to teach that, because we believe that we need a lot more Emirati artists interpreting their own culture. And that has to happen. You know, I've grown up here all my life. And it is beautiful to see how the international community are interpreting the life and the present and the past culture, but we also want to encourage Emirati artists to pick up that brush and to say, this is my responsibility. I think that is very important to highlight.
Sam, I cannot express how much I'm honored that you said that, being myself a photographer that is specialized in cultural conceptual photography. I remember you mentioning this. The spark for me was years ago when I took a workshop with a photographer called Jassim Al-Awadi. He mentioned that the past of the UAE is recorded in foreign eyes. And he said, where are we, Emiratis? And that moment I knew that I want to go into cultural photography. So you supporting passionate people that are passionate about our culture really means a lot to me. Thank you for opening our eyes to that very important point. And even adding to the culture, like when it comes to the foreigner eyes, it's very important for them to portray our culture the way they see it. And it's also important for us to portray the culture, because at the end of the day, whatever we live today is going to be the past and the future. So recording what we see today is very, very important. And such platforms and such support from your side is always appreciated by us on behalf of the art community.
Thank you. Yes, of course.
Perfect. So are you ready for the audience questions?
Yes, of course.
Yes, go for it.
Yes. So Ayesha, before going into the questions, I have to tell you that your team is so sweet, because Amina Tahir from your team posted a very sweet comment that says, your team is here and we are all very proud of you.
She's so sweet. She's so sweet. Thank you, Amina.
That support must mean a lot. Personally, I want to thank them for cheering you. It's so sweet of them. So another question directed to you, Ayesha. First, we have Jason saying, Ramadan Kareem, how do you believe Brand Dubai will look like in a year? And he's referring to himself as the water guy. Maybe you know him.
No, water guy, I'm not sure. But I think Brand Dubai, we have changed some of our plans when it comes to, for example, physical events. Say, for example, Dubai Campus. I can't predict what will happen next year, but from what will happen until the end of this year, we're planning to have most of our projects either digitized or say, for example, projects that can work with social distancing. Mm-hmm. Because that is still something that we want to highlight for a long time. So, we want to support a lot of artists and creatives highlighting either engaging the public in useful activities, so creative useful activities. We look at it from different factors. At the same time, we try to support as many people as we can and engage them in future projects. So we're planning to see now the artists that already we've been working with, where we can put them in our future projects. But mostly that's it, yeah.
Perfect. So another question is speaking about how through self-isolation, art has been flourishing, and we have seen great examples from all around the world as art is passing borders. And we did touch on that point through the conversation. We did give some examples, but we are being asked, how do you think that is going to look a year from now again? And do you think that art will continue this way after the pandemic? Like maybe now we have so much time since we're self-isolated, but after the pandemic, do you think the movement will stay this strong? And please feel free to grab the mic if you have an answer.
Look, I think our art, because it is intrinsic to human nature to create, art will always be an expression of humanity. So whether it is going to be as powerful and as intent as it is right now, associated to, let's say, like Ayesha mentioned, the COVID art and so forth, or whether it's going to transcend into a completely different thing. It will always have a role. There will always be a movement, because it is a human need that not everybody gets to express, because people have different professions. It is still a human need. So artists will still continue to express for other people their feelings, their needs, the beauties, the things that they want to see. And I believe that art is going to show itself to be a lot more meaningful. I think that might be the Renaissance. The Renaissance might be that art that will be created will be internally motivated to a point that it wants to foster and connect people.
I think we saw how people see art now, the general public, and people are so eager to see art in any way that they've been accessing digital platforms of many art galleries, and seeing that demand for artists, I feel will inspire them to do more. So I feel the movement will keep getting stronger.
I'm glad that artists' voice is reaching and platforms are understanding artists' needs. That's a very important point we found. And yes, I do agree that we're going to have a faster run post-COVID-19. Another question that really interested me says, how can universities support student artists during this time?
Okay, so I'll let you guys know about what I, for example, appreciate a lot when somebody applies to Art Painting Lab and wants to work with us. We like to see a 360 skill set. So in the job job field as an artist, you know, people go to universities to learn how to become a doctor, and then they work in a hospital. So in the field of art, I believe that artists need to understand, the way Ayesha said, what are the technical ways of illustrating through Procreate, through Photoshop, through Illustrator, to have those technical skills that are extremely important. So that's one way universities can support students, by giving them courses and skill set that are related to the demands of today. That's one way. And in another way, they must teach art students a sense of business acumen. They must be able to sell themselves and understand how to portray their work, understand how to use internet platforms the way Ayesha says. And this will give artists not only an opportunity to sell within their local circumference, but it'll allow these young artists to branch out internationally, because the world is connected.
True. And I truly believe also experiencing that myself, being an artist that was in a university, Zayed University supported me in many ways when they understood that I was a photographer. So I believe the communication between the university and the student is important. At the end of the day, that student might have a skill that you don't know about. So figure out a way where you can actually, maybe in the submission form, do you have any special talents? That would make a big difference. When you know what the student is capable of, then you will be able of supporting that student. That does not only apply to universities, and I'm not sure if you agree with me. What I see is that you can find a police officer that's an artist at the same time, a doctor that is an artist, a government employee that is an artist. If that entity itself understands the skills of its own employee, then they will be able to let that artist in him affect the entity in a positive way. I'm very honored to be one of those examples, being that Pioneer Series contacted me as an employee of the Dubai Future Foundation, given the fact that they know I'm an artist, and they matched me with this panel discussion. If they did not know that about me, a great opportunity would have been lost for me as an artist.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
I truly believe it's important for every different sector to understand the hidden talents of their employees. And I hope you agree as well.
I agree. I think for all organizations and especially universities, it's important, like you said, that like for example, the student would let people know what his talents are, and then for the actual management would get in touch with the right entity. We had this relationship in Dubai campus throughout all its years with Zayed University and AUD for 1 year to get their interested art students either shadowing international artists or doing their own works in the festival. So I think that's very important, even in times like this, that these universities and institutions get in touch with the right entity, with the right creative entity.
Perfect. Another question that is directed to both panelists says, do you think that art exhibitions will be open to public after COVID-19 similar to before, or will there be some boundaries or differences?
Hard to predict because we don't know exactly the trajectory that we're going, right? At the moment, we're able to keep social distance in supermarkets with little stickers. So can we have those kind of art events using the same kind of social distancing mechanism where people are social distancing and are able to converse at a distance, wearing their masks and so forth? I think if we can go to a supermarket and go grocery shopping, we could probably have that as well, nicely orchestrated. Some planning.
I think so too. I'm just not sure about this year. That's the only thing, but I'm sure from next year, everything, such events can come back to normal. But I still think that many creatives will have in mind to go to digital platforms instead of physical platforms.
Perfect. So when it comes to like digital platforms, there's another question that really interested me. As we all know, many artists are shy, let's say. So there is one artist that is saying, what is your advice for someone who is afraid of sharing their art online, or in general, just very hesitant or shy to interact with people online and post their ideas into the internet?
I think it's very important not to be shy, because this is like, speaking of personal experience, this is how we actually know the artists we want to work with. That's how we do our research, by seeing their previous work, or when they approach us and send us something that we might like. So I feel it's important not to be shy, and I understand that some artists are scared to post everything on their Instagram accounts because some people might say, for example, use their work without their permission. I agree with all of that. So maybe there is a way where the art doesn't need to be in high resolution. It doesn't need to be the full piece, just parts of it, and explaining in the caption what it is and whether that artist is open for collaborations or commissions. That's very important. And them replying to messages is also important, because sometimes you approach artists and you never get a reply. So that it should be, yeah.
We are guilty of not replying many times. Perfect. Sam, do you have any advice for shy people?
I think some of the shyness for the artists that I have met in my life, some of them are extremely talented and very, very good. And for whatever reason, they think they're not. It's kind of like the intelligent person that thinks they're not really that intelligent, right? Why does a person think that they're really not intelligent? It's because they know that there's so much information out there, and they understand, they have the intelligence to understand that they just simply don't know everything. So there's many artists that are shy about their work being good or not good. And I think that artists need to understand that they are working to express for the whole humanity. And what they're creating, whether it's good in their own eyes or bad in their own eyes, doesn't really matter. They must put it out there because that is the gift of an artist. So don't be shy about your artworks. And I think don't be shy that somebody is going to copy your artwork or anything like that. That does happen. And in some cases it's flattery. In some cases it's infuriating. But then at the same time, remember, you as an artist, you have an endless well of creativity. You can come up with 1,000 other things, right? So I would never worry about these things.
That's amazing. You know, personally, one more advice I want to add into that is, if you understand the power of your talent, you will be able to skip that boundary of shyness in whatever aspect in life. We're not just speaking in art. Just understand the power of the gift you are given. Not anyone, some people come to this world and leave having a talent but never getting to discover it. It's really sad to know that someone did discover that talent that is given by God and does not do anything about it. So just remind yourself of how special that is and go for it. And once you break that first wall, it will naturally come. And it's not, you shouldn't be ashamed of being ashamed, because at the end of the day, we're all humans. And most of the artists became artists because they weren't able to express with words. So they start using their artworks as an expression for their feelings, whether they're positive or negative. So just let it out there and it will naturally come.
I wanted to add one more thing to that. Another good, what I've seen some artists do here and around the region is that they actually create an alias. So it doesn't have to be Sam Saliba, the artist. It could be Jumping Bunny, right? And you could just go out there under that alias and just create whatever you want and let the world judge you. And then when you're famous and you're known and everything is great, you can say that you are, you know, Ahmed, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good idea.
We even see many musicians doing that. Like many of the musicians or actors don't come out with their own name. Why shouldn't painters or photographers do the same?
Absolutely.
We're free to do it. Perfect.
Free to do it.
So the next question is directed to you, Ayesha. So Suhail says that Brand Dubai is doing great and is very inspirational. Do you have any consideration for collaborations between Brand Dubai and other public agencies in other Emirates, rather not only in Dubai? Is that something that Brand Dubai is open to?
Yes, we're open to supporting, of course, all the creatives in the UAE. We try our best. It's just sometimes we can't actually reach out to everyone because it's not so easy when we're kind of a small entity. But yeah, I think that, sorry, what was his name? Suhail?
Yes.
Yeah, Suhail, I think you can send us a direct message on our account Brand Dubai, or send us an email and we can take it forward.
Perfect. So Suhail, there's your opportunity. Don't lose it. And reply to them when they reply back to you.
Yes, please.
Sam, the next question is directed to you. So first of all, Nader says that he loves the initiative and he thinks it's a great video and he's looking forward for the completed work. That said, have you found any learnings in terms of engaging people who are least vocal and likely most affected psychologically by the pandemic through loss, loneliness, or being overlooked?
Thank you for that question. I think that's an incredible question. And to be quite honest with you, the way the initiative is moving forward, it is a grassroots initiative. So it's baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. So at the moment, we are looking for support and endorsement from various entities, including government, public realm, art institutes, etc., universities, and we're literally speaking to everybody. And in those efforts, we are hoping to reach as many people as possible who want to be reached. If they want to be reached, they can be part of this project. Additionally to that, there will be a more concentrated effort where we're going to be reaching out to entities like, for example, Mawahib, where we want to include other segments of societies that have, for example, disabilities of some kind, autism centers. We would like to reach out to those particular entities specifically. Will we make a plan on how to reach those people who are depressed, sad, or overlooked? Yes, we will. And that is all part of a, I guess, media strategy that we will systematically employ until the end of the year, because we actually see that these murals will be painted toward the end of the year, and we have a little bit of time to do that. And since we're sitting at home, we're going to make a concentrated effort to try to reach as many people as possible. There are amazing websites coming out. There's one website, somebody contacted me, it's a buddy website where people can reach out to a buddy so that somebody can help them emotionally or just be there for them or do a task for them and so forth. So we'll be connecting with those entities to tell them, hey, why don't you guys express yourself through art? You can be part of a great thing, and let's see how it goes. Baby steps, baby steps.
It all starts with baby steps to greater heights, we hope.
And we have heartwarming stories, lots of heartwarming stories that have come in. We have people saying, I'm a nurse, and this is the only way I can express myself after work. We have heartwarming stories where we have parents separated from their children and putting in artworks about how they imagine their children are spending their time. So a lot of the works that we have have heartwarming stories.
Perfect. I'm very happy to hear that. Like, we are finding greatness in art through some of our miseries, which is why art exists in the first place. There are many beautiful questions and many people are asking questions, but we don't have enough time to answer everyone. So I would appreciate it if Ayesha and Sam, you can share what social networks you would like them to reach out to you in case they have questions that can be directed to you, or how, if you'd prefer being contacted on Instagram, what accounts should they reach out to?
I think if anyone has any question for Brand Dubai, it would be on Instagram. That's where we're mostly active. So our account is just at Brand Dubai, and you can send us an email as well. So you can find that on the account.
Same. So Instagram is a great area to reach out, ask us any questions what you need. We are very active on it, as well as at hello@ourpaintinglab. We're answering questions. I'm happy to help in any way that we can. And if you're an artist, send in your work. We would like to consider it for our projects if we are successful enough to sustain ourselves, which I think is the challenge of every business and everybody right now in the UAE. So, you know, let's just be there for each other.
Perfect. Speaking about being there for each other, there's one last question we're going to answer before we end this. Unfortunately, time is running. The question says, what steps should be done to connect more people in the UAE to art events and art itself? So if there's that step where they can connect, I believe we said reach out to social media. Is there something else you'd like to add to that? Or do you believe that is the first step and everything else will come from there?
I think for now, it is the first step.
Okay. Sam, do you agree?
Yeah, I think it is the first step to reach out through those channels. And it is the first, the step maybe even that follows it or is aligned with it is to just get doing. just get doing. Don't sit, don't wait, don't think something's going to come your way. I think whether you're an organization in art or whether you are an artist, the key mandate at the moment is do whatever it is that you can, rise, and good things will come your way, and nothing ever is forever. So whatever we're going through is temporary and it'll change, and challenges will continue to come.
Best of luck to all the artists out there trying to achieve their dreams during COVID-19 and even post COVID-19. So if I can leave Ayesha and Sam with a last message or an advice, or maybe just a personal thing that they have been doing that is keeping them strong at this time, what would Sam say?
Oh no. I think that just trying to get out a little bit into the sun, 15 minutes of vitamin D is extremely important. Even if you think you don't have the time and you don't have the nerve and you don't have the mood, just get out 15 minutes a day, either on your balcony, downstairs in front of your house, or just for a quick walk, social distance, don't touch anyone, wearing your mask, maybe with gloves. But go out and get that sun, because that really will make your difference. I know it sounds simple, but that's what's really important.
Perfect. What would Ayesha say?
I think with staying home quarantine in general, sometimes we tend to pressure ourselves of like a to-do list to do every day, and if we don't do any of that, we feel really bad and we go into guilting ourselves. So I feel more, I would advise for myself and for other people to have more self-love, and to tell yourself that it's okay if you just did one thing out of the 10 things that you had on your to-do list. So yeah.
And applaud yourself for that. Yes. Well done.
I really agree with that, given like, especially for artists, when you're an artist and you're working on other things at the same time, you tend to forget yourself or forget that artist in you. Maybe you want to give light to that artist in you now that you have more time, but at the same time, don't forget that you're a human being. And a human being needs that pause in life every once in a while. I think we've been granted a great gift where we can pause and be lazy without being called lazy for a second. So just appreciate that moment. And if you find that your schedule at a certain point is empty, leave it empty. You're not forced to fill that gap. Take that moment to breathe. Take that moment to walk in the sun, the way Sam said. So appreciate the good and what is coming. And I cannot thank our panelists enough for this beautiful talk. I couldn't have imagined that the time passed this fast. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, and thank you so much for the beautiful advices you've given us, and for opening our eyes on how many opportunities lay beyond us and how much we're not aware of the support that the community is giving us as artists.
Thank you so much, Rowdha. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Ayesha. Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for organizing this. I think we all needed to just hear about this, and knowing that there are opportunities out there and we can make it together.
I agree. Thank
Let's
you so
make
much.
it together then. That's the hashtag we'll end with. Thank you so much for watching. I really want to thank our audience. You've been posting amazing questions that added to the session, and seeing your interaction and seeing how much you're interested in what we're saying shows the amount of passion in you. Don't let this passion stop here after this meeting. This is just your first baby step, the way we said. Your next step would be reaching out to those entities that are waiting eagerly for you to contact them to create great things together. Thank you so much for your time. I wish everyone a lovely day ahead. Good day.